All right, I just want to make sure the big pharma scams that are out there are a little bit better understood. The U.S. government doesn't regulate the sale of pharmaceuticals all that well. In 25 years, $8.5 billion was paid by lobbyists to our politicians. $8.5 billion. 745 million were donated from big pharmaceutical companies directly into the campaigns of our politicians. Now, that would explain why this type of stuff happens. There's a drug called Keytruda. It's a Merck drug. It costs $25,000 every 3 weeks. It's for cancer treatments and it's part of chemo treatment. 25 grand for every 3 weeks. It comes to $191,000 per year in the United States. That's one patient getting one treatment every 3 weeks, $191,000. That same drug costs Canadians for 1 year $112,000, which is still way too much money. It costs $44,000 for that same drug for an entire year of treatment every 3 weeks in Japan. Merck refuses to sell this drug to the American people at Japanese prices, refuses, even though the American people actually contributed to its research and development to create this drug. Bristol Myers Squibb has Eliquis. Eliquis is $7,100 a year. It costs $18 per year. $18 per year is the cost of the medication. They charge Americans $7,100 a year. In Canada, it costs $900 a year. In Canada. They're still making money at $900 a year, just like Merck is making a lot of money at $44,000 a year in Japan. These companies are doing it on purpose. Both of these companies use taxpayer-funded money to develop many of their medications. The Biden administration has stepped into a 1987, I believe, regulation that was put on the books to threaten big pharmaceutical companies. Again, it's for the optics of having this on the books, but nobody has actually enforced any part of it. Well, Joe Biden has made it a little bit more enforceable, and it pertains to exactly this: the drug companies that use taxpayer money to research and develop these protected, patented drugs. They are supposed to be treating the United States citizens, taxpayers that paid for these drugs, fairly. That was what this bill was supposed to do. Since none of the politicians actually tried to use the bill to force this issue, it got to where it is today with these types of abuses going on. Now, Joe Biden has added something to that bill to control specifically the pricing of these pills that were paid for by taxpayer money. With this new stipulation to this bill, what Biden is putting in place is something that could be used for what's called a march in order. And if these companies are not charging a fair price for these drugs, the government can step in and say, hey, we're going to give you one more shot, do it right, and then they could take the patents away from the pharmaceutical companies, leaving it open information for other companies to produce other versions of the same exact drug, which will force the price to go down. This is what Joe Biden has done for this particular problem, and it should be supported across the board no matter what. They did shoot down the $2,000 a year cap on prescription medications. Republicans also shot down the $35 a month insulin cap that he tried to put on for elderly and for others that needed it. But he's trying to fight these companies from price gouging these drugs. We need to start focusing on what's best for this country and the people in this country. It has nothing to do with party anymore. And one of the most important things that people need to learn is it doesn't matter who's in the office. If someone puts up a bill that is right for this country, like these bills with the big pharma, fighting big pharma, or the bill to force oil companies to stop price gouging because everyone was paying way too much at the pump, or, God forbid, the border reform and border funding, so we don't have a $700 million a week deficit coming off the border that they actually have to close down detention centers and release more illegal aliens into our country, which supposedly everyone's for. So if we take a step back and look at the big picture here, right now we could have had gas prices a lot better than they are. They're coming down because he found other ways to do it. Bigger hold on big pharma so they don't screw us like they have been forever. And actually better immigration plans. Closed borders, safety nets, whole 9 yards. If people voted for what was right for our country and not down party lines. That is a lesson we all need to learn. It does not matter what side of the aisle put something up. It does not matter what party you voted for. What's good for the country is good for the country. That's where we need to focus. We need to focus on the big picture quick, because this next election should not be our last. Stay diligent, stay educated, and be kind. We're in this together. Let's start acting like it.